The Library of Alexandria. The Day the Future Burned. The story of the Library of Alexandria is one of the most poignant and enduring tragedies in human history, a symbol of both our greatest intellectual ambition and our capacity for catastrophic loss. It represents not merely the burning of a building, but the incineration of a universe of ideas, a day the future itself was set ablaze. For centuries, it stood as the beating heart of the ancient world's knowledge, a beacon of learning whose destruction created a rift in the progress of science, philosophy, and literature that would take a millennium to heal. The popular imagination often pictures a single catastrophic inferno, but the truth is far more complex and devastating. A slow death by 1,000 cuts, where neglect, political strife, and religious fervor conspired to extinguish the light of the classical world. The library's genesis was as ambitious as its eventual fate was tragic. Founded in the 3rd century BC in the Egyptian city of Alexandria, it was the brainchild of Ptolemy I Soter, a general of Alexander the Great, and his son Ptolemy II, Philadelphus. Their vision was staggeringly grand, to collect all the knowledge in the known world. This was not merely a royal library, it was the centerpiece of a larger institution called the Mouseion, or Shrine of the Muses, a prototype for the modern university and research institute. Here, the greatest minds of the age were supported by the state to think, experiment, and debate without financial constraint. The Ptolemies pursued their goal of universal knowledge with a zeal that bordered on ruthlessness. According to historical accounts, a notorious method of acquisition was employed. Whenever a ship docked in Alexandria's bustling harbor, officials would confiscate any scrolls on board. Scribes would then make copies to return to the owners, while the original texts were retained for the library's sacred collection. In one legendary episode, the Athenians allowed the Ptolemies to borrow their official copies of the plays of Aeschylus, Sophocles, and Euripides upon the massive security of 15 talents of silver. The Ptolemies so prized the originals that they willingly forfeited the fortune, kept the authentic scrolls, and sent the copies back. Through such methods, the library amassed an estimated 400,000 to 700,000 scrolls, containing the entirety of Greek, Egyptian, Mesopotamian, Persian, and Indian learning. Within the halls of the Mouseion, knowledge underwent a revolution. The library was not just a repository. It was a crucible of innovation and organization. The scholar Callimachus created the Ptolemaic, a 120-volume catalog that was the ancient world's first comprehensive library index, systematically organizing works by subject and author. The mathematician and geographer Eratosthenes, serving as chief librarian, calculated the Earth's circumference with an error of less than 2%, and he correctly hypothesized that one could reach India by sailing west from Spain. The physician Herophilus, through dissections, often controversially performed on human cadavers, established that the brain, not the heart, was the seat of intelligence and made groundbreaking discoveries in anatomy. Aristarchus of Samos proposed a heliocentric model of the solar system, an idea that would be lost and not rediscovered for nearly 1,800 years. The very texts we read today from Homer and other classical authors were standardized and edited by the librarians of Alexandria. This was a place where the scientific method was being born, where data was collected, theories were tested, and knowledge was systematically expanded in a way that would not be seen again until the Renaissance. The decline and fall of this great institution was not a single event, but a series of devastating blows spanning centuries. The first major catastrophe occurred in 48 BC during the Alexandrian War. Julius Caesar, besieged in the city, found himself in a desperate military situation and ordered his men to set fire to the Egyptian fleet in the harbor. Ancient historians like Plutarch and Seneca record that the flames spread from the docks to the city and consumed a significant portion of the library's collections, which were stored in warehouses near the shore. While it is debated whether the main library building itself was destroyed, the loss of tens of thousands of unique scrolls was an irreparable blow to the collective memory of civilization. The library, or what remained of it, never fully recovered its former glory. It entered a long period of decline, suffering from a slow erosion of royal patronage and political instability. A pivotal moment came in 272 AD, when the Roman Emperor Aurelian recaptured Alexandria after a rebellion, destroying large sections of the city, including the Mouseion district, where the main library was likely located. Any surviving collections from the original Mouseion were almost certainly lost in this brutal conflict. The final, symbolic death knell for classical learning in Alexandria is often attributed to the rise of Christianity. In 391 AD, Emperor Theodosius I issued a decree outlawing pagan worship. Theophilus, the Patriarch of Alexandria, incited a Christian mob that subsequently destroyed the city's great temple, the Serapeum. This temple housed the Daughter Library, a successor institution that had likely preserved what remained of the Great Library's spirit and collections. The destruction of the Serapeum was a deliberate, religiously motivated attack on the physical embodiment of pagan knowledge. While the narrative of a single, fanatical Christian mob burning the entire library is a historical oversimplification, the razing of the Serapeum represented the final systematic eradication of the ancient world's greatest center of learning, silencing a millennium of intellectual conversation. The true cost of the library's destruction is immeasurable and echoes through history. It was not merely the loss of scrolls, but the silencing of voices, the extinguishing of lines of inquiry, and the death of potential. We can only speculate on the works that vanished. Perhaps there were entire plays by Aeschylus and Sophocles that we will never know. The complete histories of Babylon, written by the priest Berosus, are now mere fragments. The scientific works of the great atomist Democritus are almost entirely lost. Most tragically, we lost the works of the founders of science itself. The vast writings of figures like Eratosthenes and Herophilus, which contained discoveries and ideas that would have to be painstakingly rediscovered centuries later. The burning of the Library of Alexandria did not just destroy the past, it crippled the future, plunging the Western world into a long intellectual winter. Its story serves as an eternal warning about the fragility of knowledge and the solemn responsibility we have to protect the repositories of our collective wisdom, for in their survival lies the very progress of our species.